Okay, friends, I am so excited for today's podcast because I have one of my very best friends, Melissa Mitchell, here with me. So let's gander down this lovely road and chit chat with her. Sometimes life just sucks, and sometimes it freaking rocks. We will discuss all the things from family and real estate to travel and just life in general. So take a seat, or don't, you do you, and welcome to the Badass Podcast. Hey, Miss Melissa.
Hi, friend.
That's what my kids call you. I almost said my friends call you because you said hi, friend, but no, that's what my children call you. So for those of you who don't know, Melissa is one of my very best friends. If you follow me on social media, you have seen her on my page, probably not even on her page because she's not a poster.
No.
If there were two more opposite people in the world, I would love to find them. We certainly have... we bring out the best in one another. I love that Billy's laughing. We bring out the best in one another, though. Like, she brings me down a little bit because I can be all over the place and high strung and so excited about things. And she's like, no, Lauren, that's not really how things are. So that's great. But I got you to wear dangly earrings, and this is something that I am very proud of myself.
And makeup and lipstick.
And look, your nails are did.
Well, that's normal. I like my nails being
Okay, good. So lipstick, the makeup, and all the girly things. I'm so glad you are here today because first of all, I have been begging you to come on my podcast, and it just didn't work out timing wise and stuff. But I wanted to talk to you because ever since 2020 and the pandemic, are we allowed to say the C word? That sounds a lot worse than it is. Okay. I just wasn't sure if things get edited or, Okay. So ever since COVID, you are a nurse in the medical field. I always like to say that you're a superhero in scrubs. So you work in the medical field and you work specifically in the emergency room. So you see things that the average Joe doesn't see. And I think we all have this preconceived notion of what it's like to work in a hospital. But I want to know from you, like, first of all, how was it before COVID? That's probably where we should start. How was it before COVID?
So those of us that were there's definitely a distinction between those who were in the medical field before COVID, those who started during COVID, and those who have been after.
Okay.
Those of us that were in before, it is almost like we refer to it as the good old days. I mean, jokingly, but it was fun. We used to have fun at work. Yes, it was busy. Yes, we had to take it serious, but it was fun. Things were enjoyable. It wasn't anything like it is now, and nurses are leaving in droves because of that.
Okay, so it's kind of like a culture thing that they're leaving then. So what is it? What happened? Like, can you pinpoint like what it was that, like, where the switch happened?
Oh, absolutely. March of 2020. I mean, there's a distinct line between nursing and healthcare pre-COVID and nursing and healthcare now.
Okay.
And not just nursing, medicine as a whole. The distinction is the way I see it is we lost our humanity. So during COVID, we lost so much of what we always pride ourselves in and what we tell each other and what we are taught. We're taught that our business is people. Mm-hmm. And so you have to take that human side into it. But during COVID, we removed that.
Is that because I don't know, whoever, big pharma, whoever, like came in and told you like you need to do certain things so that we can charge? Okay.
Absolutely. So it wasn't even so we can charge. It's because during that time we forgot that at the end of life, people want to be with the people they love. When they're sick, people want to be surrounded by the people they love and the people who care for them. And we were so afraid as a community, as a nation, as a world, of possibly getting this virus that we said, you know what? You can't be around people. You can't be near somebody. So we isolated people. People died alone. Like people who had been married 50, 60, 70 years died in the same like skilled nursing facility, but rooms apart because one had COVID and one didn't. And we forgot the human side of medicine. And at the end of the day, I get it. It's a business. My business is people. I understand that to pay the bills, to keep the lights on, to pay my paycheck, we have to make money. But we also have to understand who we're treating and what we're doing. And so we forgot to walk that fine line, which is what medicine used to do. And we just completely went over onto the business side and we're like, we're shutting this down. Everybody's isolated. It's for the better of the greater good. And nobody made sense of why.
And I think, hindsight's always 20/20, so they say. So I I get it. Like, I get that they didn't want more people dying. I truly believe, I have to believe, because I see the good in everybody. I have to believe that people were doing this because they really wanted to protect people. So I guess my question to you is, at what point did it become dumb? Like, at what point was it? Because I would imagine, like, within the first couple of weeks, you're like, holy shit, this is scary. Oh, by the way, we can cuss on this podcast, just so you know.
Thank you.
I know. I mean, just every once in a while, like, you got to get the emphasis out there. They say people who cuss really care, and I really care.
They also say they're the smartest. Just saying.
No, well, I feel like the emoji that goes like this. Okay, so I forgot what question I was even asking. So they say hindsight's 2020. So I can imagine, like, for the first couple of weeks, like, it was, we have to do this. I could imagine. But as time goes on, and as we're on month 9 of, social distancing and doing all these things that we thought was going to save and protect the world, we come to the conclusion that this shit's not working. So like, at what point, and then I want to know too, so that's my first question, like, at what point was it like, okay, what the hell are we doing? And the second thing I want to ask is, how was it amongst the nurses? Because I'm sure that you had some nurses that were super scared for the whole time, and then some nurses that were never scared at all. So, like, how was that balancing in the ER?
So for the first, we'll start in March of 2020, right?
Okay, yeah.
It was Jared's birthday. We're sitting in the spa. We're planning a vacation. We're having a great time.
Literally, like, us.
Literally us. Literally us and our husbands.
But we are known to do this, seeing as how last night we were in the spa and
planning vacations.
Sweetie Pie was trying to plan vacations, and I'm like, what happened to us saving all this money? And he's like, oh, well, we could do little trips.
2 minutes before, no more vacations. And then he's like, so Cabo.
He literally said that, you guys. I'm not even kidding. He was like,
it's true.
He was like, no more vacations. I told Lauren I really want to save money this year. And I'm like, and I'm sitting there literally drinking hot tea. We drank hot tea and sat in the spa last night. And Jared, Melissa's husband, was like, well, I kind of want to go to Cabo. And I'm like,
and next thing you know, David's like, well, let's go to this.
There's this new resort
of Cabo, blah, 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 blah.
Whatever he was talking about. And I'm like sitting there like, Anyways, so
that's
we were
exactly how March of 2020 went.
Yes.
We're planning, and it's like, okay, this thing's coming up. Something might be weird. Guys, for the next couple weeks, just because I'm exposed more than anybody. Yes. I'm going to be exposed out of our whole friend group, out of my whole family. So it's like, let's see what this is really about. So I kind of distanced myself from everybody.
You did. You were very good at that, actually.
I would say probably 10 days to 2 weeks to kind of just see what we have coming in. And at that point, people were scared. People were not coming in. Our hospital we were mandating nurses to go home. We were, I
didn't realize that.
I would say from March until October, nurses were being sent home daily. I'm talking 4, 5, 6 nurses out of our base of 26.
Wow.
We're sending them home. This is in the ER, obviously, but upstairs, same thing. Our censuses are low. The hospitals are starting to freak out because they're like, oh my gosh, we're losing money.
Yeah.
We're keeping the lights on, but we have nobody coming in. Our pediatric population, obsolete. And the ER I work in, we have a very high pediatric population. Absolutely obsolete.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden October hits. And things start to
So wait,
trickle.
it was slow from March
to October.
So
during the entire time that we are keeping kids out of school, that we are not allowing people to go to grocery stores, that we are literally tattling on our neighbors, the hospitals are all but empty. I'm talking, we can hold, our ER can surge up to 100 beds, but we have 74 active beds. We've got maybe 25 patients.
And this is, by the way, a big hospital. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah.
This is a huge hospital that you work in. So for those types of numbers, that is insane.
Right. And it's in a very heavily populated area. So we see on average about 300 to 350 patients a day. Right now, at that time, we were seeing like 110. So you're talking hospitals like small community hospital numbers. Those hospitals were seeing like 40. So during this time, and like I said, you get a little bit of a bump here or there, but nothing major. And then October hits and it starts to trickle in. And at this point, we start to really see, and we've already been seeing it, the diabetics are being hit. But that's not being talked about on the news. That's still not being talked about. The diabetics are the ones that were really, really affected that first go round, especially the type 1 diabetics.
Why? Do we know? I want your opinion. Yeah.
My personal opinion is this is a circulatory disease. And that's why you're seeing things long-term effect that affects the heart, that causes blood clots that are causing clots in the lung. It's a circulatory disease. However, the circulatory system and the respiratory system are literally intertwined with one another.
Right.
So one affects the other wholeheartedly. And so the circulatory disease was then affecting the respiratory aspect. That's why you were getting respiratory symptoms as well. Obviously, my opinion, not that I went out and scientifically searched this, but diabetics were definitely being affected by this. And we're starting to see this. But aside from that, there's really no trends. We're also not seeing the COPDers, which is a respiratory disease, those with asthma. Again, respiratory.
I have asthma really bad. And even when I caught COVID, I was just really tired. Do you remember I took Christmas down? We all had COVID together. We really tried to avoid it. But yeah, the first time we all had COVID together. And so literally my mom and dad, my sister's family, us and the Mitchells, and they even joined us for Christmas because we're like, well, we all have COVID. So
and New Year's.
And yeah, Christmas and New Year's, we all were like sitting at my house, like, and we're all tired. We're like passing out on the couch and stuff. But we were really, really tired. And I still I took Christmas down, and I remember when I found out I had COVID, Connor was really worried because he was like, you can't smell anything. And I was like, I can't, Betty. And the look on his face, and I said, buddy, we are not even going to worry about this. I said, Mom's fine. Mom is active. I get out in the sunlight constantly because we lived in our backyards. We truly did. So it was like, I get plenty of sunlight, I'm drinking lots of water. We're going to do the best that we can with what we've got. But I remember deep down, I was kind of like, oh shit, I have asthma. And if this really affects me, this could be bad. So I do remember that. But anyway, so I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's true. The asthmatics of course they were terrified. And the parents of kids that were asthmatic, terrified. Yes. But that's not who it affected. So now fast forward to like I said, October, it starts to get busy. November is starting to get numbers are picking up. Things are getting crazy. December was insane. I can genuinely say it was unsafe to work not because of the COVID patients, but because we were so busy and everybody was actively dying. So we're still at the point that nobody who has cough, cold, and congestion is coming in. We're talking these people are actively dying. These people are actively very, very sick. They're going into the ICUs. They're getting intubated. That's kind of the timeline of things. And
I have a question. Is it because they they waited so long to come in because...
So that's kind of even what we're seeing now. And I should say actually it was probably around August, September is when things started to get busy. Probably September. Only because when we went on our Cabo trip, I had 4 people die the shift before we left for Cabo. Literally 4 of my own patients that night. And one of my doctors had intubated 11 patients in a shift. For anybody in the medical field, intubating 11 patients in one shift is just
mentally
asinine.
And mentally exhausting.
Mentally, physically, just an asinine amount of people. And that was just one doctor. And we have 6 on shift. So that can tell you how bad it was, right? But at this point, we're starting to see, at least me and a lot of my coworkers are starting to see it didn't matter if you stayed completely away from people. Literally hold yourself in your house, spoke to no one, saw no one, had groceries delivered maybe, but then you left them outside, sprayed them with Lysol, that kind of crap. You weren't getting it. But other than that, if you had any basic function in the world, you were exposed, you were going to get it. It's a novel virus. You have no immunity to it.
Right.
And so we're starting to see that there's really no rhyme or reason. Keeping kids out of school, keeping people distanced, all of this, wearing masks, not wearing masks, none of that was starting to matter.
Right.
It was, and we'd have people come in and they're like, we'd have people come in January, February of 21, and they're like, but I've been vaccinated. At this time it was healthcare workers and old people and that.
Sure.
But I can't have COVID. I've been vaccinated. Yes, you can have it. And that's the thing is we were seeing that it didn't matter. It was just a virus that was going to take its toll, and this is what was happening. And so that, I think, is where a lot of the frustration in healthcare comes from, and a lot of healthcare workers, is we shut down so much, and we took away. And, you have to understand, if you got to go to work, right, you get to talk about real estate for at least 8 hours.
Right.
I didn't. I got to go to work and talk about COVID. And then when you get home, what does everybody want to talk about?
Hey, so tell me about work. What was going on? I remember asking
it was
you.
just constantly COVID. But healthcare couldn't get out, and we couldn't go to the movies. We couldn't go on vacations. We couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't.
You had no out.
Nothing. No, we had nothing.
Oh.
And so the level of just, I don't want to say anxiety because it's not anxiety. It's just you constantly felt like you were in a pressure cooker. It was just this constant, like, you go to work and it's COVID, and you come home and it's COVID, and you're on the news and it's COVID, and you're on Facebook and it's COVID, and it's COVID, and it's COVID.
You couldn't get out from underneath it.
You couldn't. And that's kind of where, like, that I think is what really affected healthcare as a whole, is that the separation, the isolation, and then the constant reminder that COVID, I mean, still, even now, everything is COVID. Oh, do I have, you get a new patient in and they're like, oh, I've had a cough for 3 days. Do you think I have COVID? Does it matter if you have COVID or you have a cold or you have rhinovirus or you have RSV? We're going to treat it the same way. So why do we have to constantly be like, that was the hard part about healthcare, is we were constantly in fear. Everybody was constantly living in fear.
Well, so you said something about how, like, the consumer would come in, and that's kind of like, I mean, it's not exactly what you said, but you said something along the lines of, like, how, the average person comes in and they don't necessarily trust or whatever, right? I don't think that had anything to do with the healthcare workers. I think that had everything to do with the government. And whether you're left, right, or center, we had one president from one side that was in when COVID started. We had another when COVID ended with air quotes. So to be honest, it doesn't matter. Both of them were saying the same thing, that, hey, get vaccinated and you won't have to worry about COVID. So truth be told, friend, I think that a lot of the the residual got put on you guys. But the truth of the matter is, I don't think people trust the government. And that's scary too, because not that anybody should ever trust any government, but regardless of where you live. But when somebody's telling you something and you think that they're looking out for your best interest,
they are.
And then you find out that they're not. Now you don't trust anything they say. And now, we were in the spa last night, and David was kind of updating us because, bless my husband, he loves the news. And I'm just not at that point in my life. And so I'm like, yeah, if I want to know anything, what's going on in the world, I just ask Sweetie Pie, because he will sit here and he'll tell me what's going on. And so, for me, I don't even watch the news anymore. Like, I truly do not. I get my news from, there's a page on Facebook that I love, or Instagram. It's called Real News, No Bullshit. And I think it's great because they sit there, they list the facts, and then they put like a little red dot. This is what the conservatives think. A little blue dot. This is what the liberals think. And it's great because you get both sides. And so I really enjoy that aspect of news, if I feel like I even really need it, to be honest. But for the most part, I'm like, you know me. I'm like, we're just going to have a great day today, and let's go kill today, and let's do this and let's do that. But I feel like, and it's not necessarily that I'm sticking my head in the sand, but it's just like, if I sit here and I focus on all this shit that you had to focus on, like it would seriously really drown me as well.
And it did. It drowned a lot of healthcare workers. And that's part of the reason we're losing so many is, a lot of us don't talk about it. And it's not like to me personally, it's not like a PTSD thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will tell you that that's what they think the healthcare field, has, is PTSD from what we saw and what we experienced. And I mean, maybe in some sense it is, but to me, it was just such a lack of humanity. I mean, literally, I was watching people die alone. Nobody should die alone.
I agree.
Nobody should ever die alone. And you know me, I'm not a huge extrovert. I still don't think people should die alone. Like, I don't want to die alone. I want at least one person with me.
Okay, hold on. So she says that, like, I'm not a huge extrovert. Let's rein that in. It's so funny. I bought her a shirt not too long ago that says, what does it say? I'm done peopling today. And it's so funny because you are not a people person, but the people that you do have in your life, you do love very much.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because she'll come home and she's like, everybody at work thinks that I'm so nice. And I'm like, okay, listen, friend.
They do.
You are a nice person to the people that you love. And if she doesn't love you, she won't even say anything. You will read it all over her face. And then she turns around and just walks away. Like, we're done with this conversation. So it's actually quite funny. And you are an only child. I say that loosely because you do have stepbrothers. But needless to, and who you love and who are your brothers.
Yeah.
I know,
but I was an only child for 17 years.
Yes. So it
comes out.
It's very funny. And it's funny because you have a lot of attributes that my sister has. And so that's probably why we get along so good too, because I love my sister to death. But anyways, I want to know where things are now. Wait, really quick before we get there. Did you see nurses even turning on each other? Like really good friends who were like, okay, now I hate you?
Yes. So here's the thing. There's a huge difference. There's always, we joke, and I mean, there's some half truths to it about the ER versus like the rest of the hospital, especially ER versus ICU, right? Like we are two completely different animals. Yes, we do similar jobs, but they are as type A as they can be. And we are, we love controlled chaos. Okay. So we're just kind of like the feral children of the hospital. Yeah, the ER is 100% feral children. But yes, oh my gosh, the way that, like me personally, when I started to see who was getting sick, listen, was there a 26-year-old who had no prior health conditions? No. That doesn't mean they didn't have something underlying. That just means nothing had been diagnosed at that point, right? But nonetheless, up until that point, 26 years old, completely healthy, no prior health conditions, end up intubated and dead from COVID? Yes, absolutely. I did. Not even going to pretend that didn't happen. But were most of my patients overweight, unhealthy, cardiac patients, probably diabetic, kidney issues? I mean, they had multitudes of comorbidities. Those were what I was seeing, right? And so for me, it was like, listen, this is obviously the patient this is affecting. So this isn't affecting everybody. This is affecting the unhealthy, especially the unhealthy. Everybody was getting sick. People were getting colds. But those who were, you hear people, and I mean, yes, there's people with long COVID. Again, I'm not going to pretend any of this wasn't real and it didn't happen, because it legitimately all did.
Of course.
But, I worked with a very healthy nurse who ended up having a heart attack off of it.
Oh, shit.
50 years old, had a heart attack. Because different types of COVID, different strains affected the body differently.
So you don't think that all these strokes and all these heart attacks and stuff like that are coming from the vaccine then?
Could it be? Yes, because it affects your body similarly to the
oh my gosh,
disease.
You're right. I just had an epiphany, because when you get the COVID vaccine, they're essentially injecting you with non-active COVID,
virus,
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
to help your body build that immunity.
So that makes sense. So it could be from COVID or the vaccine.
Or the vaccine. Exactly.
I didn't even put that together.
Because it's going to cause the same cascade of effects in your body of immune responses. But so like the ICU or the tele units, especially the tele units that were taking COVID, or the med-surg units that were taking COVID, right? They thought that's all that was out there. They didn't see the 350 patients. Actually, one day we had 452 come in. That is a wild number of patients.
Well,
right?
I remember when I brought Sweetie Pie in, there were people, okay, it helps to know people. There were people that were like waiting outside, and I mean, and the inside was freaking slammed. Like there was not a seat to be had. People were standing and people looked sick. Like I am so grateful that you were working that night, because like, were we there for his ankle or were we there for COVID? I feel like we were there for his ankle. He went to a different hospital for COVID.
He did. Because I told him ours was too busy.
Yeah, that's right.
I literally was like, you won't get seen, even with me being able to be like, hey, is there anything you can do? Like, he wasn't going to be seen. We were that kind of busy.
Well, so, and out of our group, Sweetie Pie was the only one that went to the hospital. He was having a really hard time breathing, and his oxygen was really, you came over with the oxygen meter and you were like, you need to go. And he was like, okay. So she calls me later. She's like, I know he's not feeling good, because I told him to go, and he was like, okay, normally he would have fought her on it. So, he drove himself because he was like, I don't want you to get stuck there. And then I got the phone call that he was staying overnight, and I freaking lost it. I'm like, you have to come home. Like I was seriously losing my mind. So naturally I called Malissa and I was like, hey, this is what they're telling us. So it's definitely nice having people, but we were there for his ankle. And this was kind of after COVID had kind of settled down a little bit.
I think it was
was it round two? Okay. That makes sense. And I mean, poor Sweetie Pie's ankle. But anyways, we get in and stuff, and there are so many people. And David was like, oh My gosh, it was nuts.
Yeah.
I want to say something really quick too. I noticed that when you guys started getting busy again, it's also when the seasons were changing. So do you think that the normal flu had something to do with that too? That just amped up the COVID?
So everything is cyclical, right? And so I guarantee you right now, so we're in January, things are going to start to die down from a COVID, from a flu, from all that standpoint by mid-February. I've been doing this enough years. It's cyclical. This is the cycle. And then it's going to ramp up again in August and September. The reason behind this is so the sun is out, people are going outside, you're not around each other as much. So I'm talking all kinds of viruses, all kinds of everything.
Sure.
So as it gets sunny, people are outside. They're not as in close quarters like we are right now, right? But as it gets, now you're going to go into August and September.
Kids go back to school. Yep.
And then again, things are nice. Fall happens. But then guess what? Now we've got the holidays. And so now we're going to go back in to people are indoors and it's cold. And when it starts to get cold, and especially last year, why was last year busier? It was a colder winter.
That's true.
So people were more indoors. And it was one of those types, it was rainy for us. That's why California got it so bad, because now you're indoors, now you're exposed. When you're not around people in close quarters, you're not going to get it. So was there some science behind the stay away from each other? Yes, of course there was. It's the same science that's behind wash your hands. It's just common sense. You're feeling sick, wash your hands and don't go by people. It's that simple.
And I feel like when I even just have a cold, I'm like, hey, just a heads up, I have the sniffles, or just if you don't want me around, no problem, because I sure as hell don't want you around when you're not feeling well. But that's crazy. So so right now, how's the camaraderie amongst nurses? Is it better?
So we're all kind of, yes, because back in those days, the way I liken it is to if you're an L&D nurse, all you see is people having babies, right? So in your mind, everybody's pregnant. It was the same thing for the floors. All they saw is COVID.
Yeah.
So in their mind, everybody had COVID, but they forgot we had 450 patients come in and we only sent them 35 with COVID. So out of those 450, only 35 of them were sick enough to be hospitalized with COVID. That was kind of where we in the ER were frustrated. It's you have to understand there is so much more going on. That said, the floors are still more cautious, but they always have been and they always will be. If you look at vaccination statuses, I'm sure the floors are a little more compliant with the suggestions. Whereas, again, the ER, we're the feral children, we go rogue, we're a little less likely to be yeah, we're going to jump right on that. We question things. We're the ones that the doctors roll their eyes at because they tell us something and we question them, you know? And that's how we are. And so the camaraderie, is it there? No more than it always was.
Okay.
Is it worse? I would say I wouldn't say that the camaraderie is worse. I would just say the overall persona of healthcare and nursing is worse.
And it's exhausting.
It's so tiring.
So last question, and then I'll let you go. What can we do to better prepare? If I always say the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. I think Dr. Phil actually says that, but I copy him. So if we know that... is he still on air?
He is.
Stop.
Yes.
New episodes or reruns?
No, I think he does stuff on streaming or one of those kind of.
That is, and
he
is a doctor, but do we know?
An actual doctor of psychology.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he was a foot doctor or something.
No, he's a legitimate psychologist.
Well, that's interesting. Okay. So anyways, he always says that, and he's not wrong. So if we can assume that things are probably going to start picking up again, after summer and when the kids are back in school, what things can we do to prepare for that?
Get yourself out in the sun. That's huge. I just know even myself, when I had COVID, sitting in the sun just felt amazing. And what we found is that a lot of people who were vitamin D deficient, which is what we get from the sun.
Yes.
They were the ones that were affected very heavily by this. So keep yourself, keep up on your vitamins, your zinc, your vitamin D. If you're deficient in those, get yourself up to par. Exercise. Cardiac health is huge.
Okay.
Because that's honestly, COVID is affecting that. But it also, cardiac health, again, your cardiac and your respiratory are like this. So the flu, RSV, the common rhinovirus, which is known as the common cold, those are all things that are going to, if you have poor cardiac health or poor respiratory health, you're going to be more affected. So go out, do some cardiac, even if it's just walking.
Walking, yeah.
Walking is the best kind of cardiac exercise you can have, and it's not bad for you.
lose the belly fat.
Huge.
The belly fat.
The belly fat.
Bless the belly fat. Okay, we're going to tell the story. We have to.
Poor Sweetie Pie, not even here to defend himself.
You know what? That's his fault. I invited him to come today and he was like, yeah, absolutely not.
What the hell?
Girl, you even tried. And he was like, no. I don't know what it is. I don't know. And I'm like,
with me of all people, like,
well,
he and I would have just taken over. This would have been our podcast, just so you all know.
Well, and it was cute. Was it you who came up with the idea, like
show.
where he could? No, I think it was Nicole. Was like, David, like I can ask you and Lauren questions like about marriage and travel and all this stuff. And by the way, secretly, maybe not so secretly to those who know us, Sweetie Pie is the way more fun one. So I don't understand. Like, he's way more like, you want to have a good time? I'm down. He is the good time though. You know what I mean? So, anyways.
Like I said, Sweetie Pie and I are a good time together.
Bless him. Okay, so back in 20, right? That's all we do. Back in 2019, David goes to the doctor. And he had COVID. We just didn't know it. And it was in November because we were going up with Lalo and Carla up to Napa to go wine tasting. That's when he left his backpack in the freaking airport. And then, oh my gosh. And it looked like a Unabomber backpack. Like, it was just bad. We'll tell that story another time. Anyways, so he goes in and he's coughing and he's not sure what it is. And the doctor walks in and he's a very tall Asian man. And so he has a thick accent and he tells, I can't even do the accent and I don't want it to ever seem like I'm mocking anybody. So I won't, but I'll tell you what he said. So he walks in and the doctor's looking at him and he goes, what are you here for? And David tells him, and very direct. And he goes, okay, I have lots of patients in here like that right now. He goes, sorry, is my phone's going off? Oh, it's my office. Anyways, so he's telling him, what he's in there for. And he's just looking at David. And David's like, I kept looking at him like, what the hell is he looking at? And he looks at the nurse and he goes, nurse, put in chat, he had belly fat. And so David looks at him like, what the hell? And he's like, what? And he's like, yeah, you have belly fat. And David was like, okay. And he's like, that's not good for your health. It's very bad for your health. You have high blood pressure. And David's like, oh yeah. Hey nurse, what's my blood pressure? Because David knew. And she goes, oh, what's a good blood pressure?
No, it was like 110. David has stupidly good vitals.
I don't understand why. I mean, I'm very glad that he does, but
I don't get it. Like, David will eat things that should not be humanly consumed on a regular basis. Like him and Jared and their damn like fatty steaks and all this crap.
Oh yeah. He loves it and he'll crave like a really good steak. And here's the thing. And David's a big guy, like just a big guy, not even necessarily fat. Like even, yes, he does have some belly fat, but he's just a big human. A big dude. So, and he's over 6 foot, like he's just a big guy. So anyways, so the nurse is like 110 over, whatever good blood pressure.
Yeah, it was like 110 over 60. I'm
okay. And so,
I wish.
And so he looks at the doctor like, yeah, man. And the doctor looks right at him and goes, oh, good. This means you have good genes. Don't mess it up. But I swear somewhere in a urgent care chart of Sweetie Pies, it says belly fat. Anyways, thank you, friends. So such a crazy story. Thank you so much for coming on with me today. Finally, I'm glad our schedules synced, and thank you for letting me know what's going on in the medical world. I appreciate you.
It's fun. So thank you.
Of course.
Bye.